This is the brand new V6 Plus streaming box by vSeeBox. This is their latest and greatest.
Disclaimer, please read carefully. This video is not sponsored. I am not an affiliate of vSeeBox or Amazon. This box was sent to me at no charge for the purposes of review and testing only. I do not endorse or promote any illegal activity. This content is created for educational and informational purposes only. Please consult with your local and federal laws to determine whether devices like this are legal in your area before purchasing them. Now back to the video.
This is a Chinese streaming box where they bypass a lot of things in North America and they have proprietary apps. You get all of the movies, all of the content, all of the sports for free for the cost of the box. In other words, no subscriptions. You want movies for free? On this box. Video on demand? On this box. Movies still playing at the theater? On this box. Sporting events that are even blacked out? On this box. Does that kind of thing intrigue you? How about picture-in-picture where you can toggle between one and the other? On the box. This box is crazy good, but is it legal? And if it is legal, where is it legal and where is it illegal? Well, if you'd like to find out more about this box and what it can do, because I'm going to show as much as I can on YouTube because it is restrictive, but I'll give you everything I can for this box, and I'm going to show you what this box can do. Well, keep watching because you're watching Blue Collar Guy. Okay, so this is the brand new V6 Plus streaming box. This is their latest and greatest. I'm going to go to the downward shot. We're going to check out the specs on the back of this box.
If you'd like a deeper dive into this box and other streaming boxes, I do have a Rumble link that I put through my Facebook page, and you can check it out there. Also, don't forget to follow me there. That way you get all the notifications.
Can't show you the actual content, but I can kind of give you a gist of what the box can do. Okay, so this is the specifications written on the back of the box, and I'm just going to zoom in so you can see it a lot easier because we want to make sure that's nice and clear. And it is running Android 14. Now this is the non-certified version of Android. But you want this. Why do you want a non-certified version of Android? Well, because when Android 15 comes out, there is a rumor, and it's just a rumor, that a lot of people that are doing side loading on other types of boxes are going to get an update and their box is no longer going to play those certain apps. So we don't know for sure what's going to happen, but because this is an uncertified version of Android, it's not going to be affected like those ones will be affected. So this is the first time in which I would say an uncertified version of Android is actually going to be better for you than a certified version. So the CPU on this one is the S905Y5. This is a 64-bit quad-core ARM processor, A55 CPU. This is the fastest processor I've seen on one of these Chinese streaming boxes. It also has a G31 MP2 GPU processor. This particular GPU allows for smoother playback and screen tearing and those kind of problems that you can have. Now, the only thing that I really didn't like was the fact that they're still using DDR3 RAM. I think that should have been changed to DDR4, but it's 4 gigabytes, which isn't bad. This one here is a 64 gigabyte system, and that is actually more memory than what comes on the NVIDIA Shield. Now, you can also do H.264 and H.265 decoding, and it has 10-bit HDR with 8K 60. Now, that's a big deal. That is a big claim. And I've had this thing hooked up to my TV, and it actually looks pretty darn good. Now, we're also running an HDMI 2.1 max output. I do believe it's running Wi-Fi 6 with 867 megabits per second. Bluetooth 5.0, Now the Bluetooth could have been a little bit higher, but I didn't notice any problems with the Bluetooth remote other than one issue, and I will explain that issue. Now we've also got a 10-meter seamless control distance on the remote, and I would believe that. Voice control, yes, it has that. Now I'm going to take this and I'm going to just flip it over this way. So yes, it does have Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.0, Android 14. This is non-certified Android, but again, I would not want certified Android on a streaming box right now because they're going to be making some changes. And it also has over-the-air updates. That is something you wouldn't get if you were side loading, because if you were side loading, it would be up to you to take care of that. And this one here has customer service because they're running their own servers for their proprietary apps. And that makes a big difference on the user interface and the viewing experience. It also has a smart media player. And over here, they're advertising 8K, 4 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs of ROM, voice control, and H.265. Over here, not much. Here's their website. If you need to go to their website, you want to check out more things. They would probably have a channel list there too. So if you wanted to see a channel list, you could probably go there and check that out. And on the back, it just has, you know, the MAC address and things like that. So I don't need to show that. But we're going to take this out. I'm going to actually, the next shot I show you, I'm just going to have it hooked up because I want to get right into what this box does so that you can appreciate, and we'll also take a look at the remote control. Okay, so I've got the box here. So before the box is hooked up, I'm just going to show you the back of the input-output. So this is a USB jack here. This is a 3.0. And by the way, you can use dongles. So if you want to add a keyboard, that sort of thing, those aftermarket keyboards, you can. They should work on here, no problem. You got HDMI. This is your Toslink or your optical output. And this is for connecting to your network, but you don't have to use this. It has Wi-Fi, and I don't use this connector. I use the Wi-Fi. This one also has a reset button, so if things go wrong. And this has got nothing on it. And this one has a different face. So this one doesn't have the clock and all that when it turns on. It just has this one light. And the light is either red for off or green for on. On this side, again, nothing. And on the top, it's just like a bluish color. So this is a pretty, like, I guess understated. It's a nice color. It's not ugly. Everything's kind of made of a high quality plastic. The underside, I'm just going to cover up the serial numbers. And this is the voltage. And of course, it's made in China. So I'll just flip that around so you can see it better. But there it is, V6 Plus. And this is what we got. And there's some ventilation holes around the bottom. I never noticed this box overheating, and I just unhooked it, and it's not warm at all. It's fine. So on the remote looks like this. And the remote, by the way, now it lights up. So this is a lit up remote. Now you can't really see it. I might turn off this light to get a better view. So if I click on a button, as you can see, it lights up now. So it's a backlit remote. Now, the only thing I noticed about this remote that I didn't like, and I'm just going to go back to the other shot. So the only thing I noticed that I didn't like about this remote was the fact that I couldn't find a mute button. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. There was no mute button on the remote. Now, one of the instructions said that if you clicked on this downward button here, that it would mute, but I didn't find that it worked. Maybe there'll be a firmware update, I don't know, but there is no visible mute button. But all of the other buttons work fine, and we should have one of these other buttons assigned as a mute button. Now, if you have a V50 Pro vSeeBox, that remote will actually work this box. And so will the mute button. So if you don't need a backlit remote, you can use that remote as well. And I would imagine you can also buy an aftermarket remote if you really want that mute button, but this one doesn't have it. Now, I can also mute my TV with that remote as well. So it's not a deal breaker for me, but With a firmware update, I'm sure that they could assign one of these buttons as a mute button, you know, in case you wanted to have that. So we should be able to remap one of these buttons is what I'm getting at. And the other thing is it didn't come with batteries, and it takes AA batteries and not AAA batteries. So make sure that you stock up on those. Okay, so the other thing I'm going to point out is here is the power brick. And there's nothing special or fancy about it. It just is approved, and it uses your standard barrel connector, and it's got a fairly decent cord on it, but there's nothing to write home about on the power brick. It's not ugly. It doesn't feel too cheap or anything like that. It feels just like a regular power brick that you get for any other box. So this is Heat Live. This is Live Plus Ultra. This is the one with the picture-in-picture I was talking about. This is Live Ultra. This is Heat Video on Demand. This is Video on Demand Ultra. And this is your backup channels in case some of these other ones go out. So they also have a customer service where you can click on this and talk with a representative. So if any of these apps aren't working properly, you would contact them and then they would help you out. Now, if I go down here, this is my system settings, my launcher settings, and this is where you would put your VPN. So without the VPN, I'm going to show you these three here won't work unless it finds that you're in the United States. So I was in Canada, and until I changed my VPN, they didn't work. It just said no. So on the launcher, I launched the VPN automatically. Okay, hotkeys, that's so you can program in those keys. Initial setup. So under the initial setup, you can put your English, like if you're in the United States, and then you'll use this to scroll back and forth for zooming in and out. This is your scale, and I've already got mine done. So once I do that, then I just go to next. And then this one here just says auto for your clock, and then your disclaimer notice just saying they're not responsible, all that other good stuff. Now, I'm going to go through each app, but I can't show you the content, so I'm just going to go back to me real quick. So I have to be very careful what I show you. And the reason why is it's copyright content, and the fact that it's not only copyright content, but to watch copyrighted content on a streaming box is even worse if the streaming box is considered third party or pirate streaming, as we would call it. So it is something that those people would not want to be shown. So if you own that copyright content and then someone was showing it in an illegal fashion, well, that just makes it even worse. So in some countries, it's not illegal to watch on these boxes. So if you're in Russia or Somalia or one of those countries, it's not against the law there to watch pirated movies. In Canada, it's only a civil matter. It is not a criminal matter. It's only really strict in the United States, which I know that sounds bizarre, but that's the truth. The other thing that I would like to quickly mention is that with the Fire Stick, for instance, the Vega OS, their newest operating system, won't allow side loading. And a lot of people are going to be disappointed in that because those particular types of boxes are cheaper than these ones. But side loading has its drawbacks. So do these boxes, do these Chinese boxes like this one have malware on them? And they do have a type of malware that protects their apps. So if anyone was to try to extract those proprietary apps, like the ones I showed you, then they can shut it down remotely. So because they can do that, that is considered a type of malware. Because they have a lot of control over what this box can do. They can remotely control the box. Now, I found that they don't have the type of malware that tries to figure out passwords and things like that, but I am going to give you some advice. So, because I don't really trust anybody when it comes to my privacy, and you know, you have your trusted devices, and unfortunately I do have to trust my phone. I have no choice. But if the bank is willing to trust my phone, then I guess it's okay for me, and that's my logic behind that. So my point is that when you're logging in with this box with your email address, don't use the box. In other words, don't enter your password using the box and the remote. Instead, go to try another way and use your phone. And this way, the box doesn't know your password. So if it was trying to figure out your password, it can't, because your phone has that. Now, there is one drawback to that, is that there is something that is a token, I think they call it. Anyways, it still has that, but it doesn't know your password, but it does know your token. So it can access your account through that token. But you can change a lot of those things after the fact. So I use multi-factor authentication, and I also have a special service that monitors my emails on the dark web. So if anyone tries to do anything funny with my emails, then I will be alerted right away. So this is how I protect myself when it comes to, these type of boxes and malware and that sort of thing. I take extra precautions. I pay quite a bit of money to make sure that nobody's going to mess with my stuff. Now, I know that most people don't go to those links, but if you're going to go with a pirate streaming box instead of pirated apps, this would be the lesser of the evils because it's the less invasive compared to sideloading. So before anyone leaves any comments, I encourage you to do your own research. So instead of going exactly by what I say, I want you to Google everything and confirm what I am saying. I want you to check and double check and triple check everything that I have pointed out. Investigate for yourself then. Feel free to fact check my facts. And if you find that I've done something wrong or I've given the wrong information, then put it in the comments, but put your proof in the comments too. Don't just say you're wrong. I want to see your proof that you put in there, because I have checked about the side loading, about what Android 15 is going to do, about the Fire Vega OS. I've checked into all of that pretty thoroughly, and I found out that they don't want side loading on any of those systems anymore because they don't want to be affiliated with pirate streaming, because the companies that they deal with, like Netflix and Amazon Prime, they have basically said, if you want to put our apps on your devices, then you have to deal with this problem. And if they don't allow them to put those apps on their devices, it's going to be pretty hard to sell an ONN box if you can't even put Netflix on it. In other words, imagine buying an ONN box or a Fire Stick or something, and you say, well, how come I can't put my Netflix on it? And it's because, well, you allowed sideloading, so we're not allowing you to use our app on your platform. That's what I'm getting at. So if that kind of summarizes it for you, I hope that helps. But these Chinese streaming boxes, they don't care about any of that. They're not even using a certified version of Android. So you don't have to worry about an update happening and then the box be bricked. It's not the same version of Android that you get on an ONN box or Fire Stick or anything like that. Actually, Fire Stick has their own, but you get where I'm going with this. NVIDIA Shield and Google boxes. Those versions of Android are not the same as the one on these boxes. So I have to be clear on that. So on this particular box, I didn't see anything like adult movies. So if adult movies are your thing, I didn't notice anything on this box that had anything to do with adult movies. So all in all, it's family-oriented content. So you don't have to worry about, your teenager getting an education that they weren't intended to get prematurely, in other words. So some boxes, by the way, have lots of adult content. This is not one of them. This one is geared mostly for movies, sports, older TV shows. It is just for a regular person like myself that just wants to have access to, lots of different kinds of content, but not necessarily that. And for me, I'm perfectly fine with that. And I would imagine that a lot of people would be as well. So I'm more interested in the latest movies that'll be out there, and if there's any sporting events, that sort of thing. But car shows, that sort of thing. You know, the old funny TV shows, you know, the old Seinfelds, you know, they're all on there. So it does exactly what it says it's going to do. It gives you all of the channels, all of the content, everything that they advertise that it does. It does. You pay the one fee, and that's what you get. The remote is very, very premium. The only thing I didn't like was the fact that I couldn't find a mute button on it, and they could fix that with a firmware update, but I'm a little nitpicky and it didn't have that. But it feels good in the hand. You can access all the functions. It does have mouse mode down here. What is mouse mode? Well, you click on the button on the remote, and I'm just going to go, I'm going to put me on here for a second. There we go. So on the remote here, and I'm just going to show you if I can get some light on here, there is a button right here, and it looks like a little mouse. And I'm going to have to go back to me and show you this way. So here, that's mouse mode. If I click that button, and you're going to see a little arrow pop up like a mouse, and you see there it is right there, and it will disappear. And if I click on something, I can choose my theme, and then I click OK, and there we go. It's just another way of navigation, but it's kind of neat that you can do this. And then when you click on things, it works just like a mouse, and you use the other arrow keys. And I'm just going to go back to me, use these arrow keys right here to scroll around. So what are my final thoughts on this device? Well, the remote is very nice. It's very premium. The only thing I didn't like, no mute button. They could fix that with a, you know, remap it in there somewhere, but as it stands, there is no mute button. It's not a deal breaker. It feels really nice in the hand, by the way. And, you know, at nighttime, it's just wonderful when it lights up. And it's dual function. It's infrared and it's Bluetooth. So Bluetooth remote and infrared, that's a good remote. I would really like to thank vSeeBox for sending out the V6 Plus. This is their latest and greatest model. And even though I couldn't show you the content per se, I could show you what I could show you. You know, I was able to show you what I can. And you can go to websites and you can, you know, type in the vSeeBox and the V6 Plus, and it'll give you an idea of all of the channels and things like that. They do have a channel list out there. You'll just have to type it in and you'll be able to find it. It's not hard to find the information on this device. They've been around for years. So it's not one of these companies where you buy something, it works for a few months, and then it stops. They started with the V2 or V3. Like I still see people saying they're still selling the V2 and the V3 on certain platforms. Now, I will caution you, when you buy one of these boxes, make sure that you use the links that I provide. And it's not because I get a commission, because I do not get a commission. It's because a lot of people are getting scammed with these boxes. And how that happens is other people buy the boxes and then they resell them. So if I bought this box, I now control how this box operates. In other words, if I wanted to, let's say someone stole this box, I could phone up and say, someone stole my box, disconnect it. And they would, because I'm the owner of that box. But if I resold that box, I could use that same power to get ransom or extra money out of somebody else. Because I could say, well, you know, I'll shut off that box unless you pay me another $100. So I don't want that to happen to you, because wherever something is sold, there's always some, you know, jerk that's trying to scam people in some way, shape, or form. So make sure that you get it through the proper channels, because I don't want you to get one of those things where people say, well, a month went by and then someone wanted another $100. I don't want that to happen to you. I want you to pay the one fee, and it's a one and done situation. So that's why I use the links. And that's why I make sure that people use those links so that they don't get scammed by a third-party seller. So if you did buy a box, let's say from Amazon or some other place, maybe eBay, and your box did get disconnected and someone tried to get extra money out of you, I would encourage you to contact vSeeBox through their customer service and explain to them what has happened to you, and they might be able to remedy the problem and reactivate the box. But you will need to show them proof that you bought the box. So if you bought it through Amazon, for instance, make sure you have your receipt and all of that stuff. I can't guarantee that they're going to solve the problem, but at least they're aware of what is happening. So I'm not too sure if that will help a lot of people or not, but my intention is that you buy this thing and you'll never have to get another fee again. So I don't want anyone to get any extra fees after they bought one of these boxes. And by the way, I've got another review coming of a comparison between this box and their other latest box, and it's kind of like an entry-level box. It's called the V6 Max. So if you want to see that video, that will be up and coming. And don't forget to check out my other streaming box videos, because each box has its own UI or personality, and get the one that suits you. Leave in the comments what you think of this box. Do you think that this is going to be the latest and greatest box? What do you think is going to happen with the latest version of Android? Are they going to brick all of those NVIDIA Shields and all of those other boxes? Or do you think that they're going to let that slide? Or do you think they're going to be worried about declining sales? I don't know what's going to happen exactly, but I have a feeling they're getting a lot of pressure from Netflix and those companies, and they might be forced to do this. So that's my opinion, and let me know your thoughts on that. So take care, be safe at work, and I will see you at the next video.